Let's begin getting all my books. Okay, so the first book I'm going to talk about is Wicked and the Wallflower by Sarah MacLean. I don't know anything about this other than it's a historical romance. And then on a similar vein, I've got The Highwayman by Kerrigan Byrne. I bought this book years ago when I saw a booktuber talking about it, and for some reason I think it's from the booktuber Pete Loves Books, but I'm not 100% certain. Next, I've got, they're all going to fall. I've got they've fallen. They've just fallen. So I'm just going to hold up a couple of them and then I'll go through them all. So I've got the Black Dagger Brotherhood series. And now let me begin. So first I've got The Shadows by J.R. Ward. I've literally lost the order of these books. So if I say them out of order, that's why. Then I've got The Beast, The Chosen, The Rebel, Prisoner of the Night, The Saviour, Where the Winter Finds You, The Sinner, A Warm Heart in Winter, Lover Arisen, and Lover Unveiled. This is a series I've really enjoyed the first few books, well, the first 14 books I've read. However, as I've got further along in the series, I found that it's got worse and worse. But as I was saying, so the reason I feel like I'm not enjoying this series as much is because it's just we're following too many characters in each book, because I just feel like it's so overwhelming as we get further along in the series, and some of them aren't even that interesting, which is so frustrating. Okay, so the next books I'm going to talk about are by Cassandra Clare. So we've got The Shadowhunter Codex by Cassandra Clare and Joshua Lewis. This is the book from her that I've had on my shelves for the longest. I am so intimidated by this book and I keep putting it off, and I literally don't know why, because it's only a 300-page novel. So there's literally no reason why I shouldn't be able to finish it. Then I've got Queen of Air and Darkness, which is the final book in the Dark Artificer series. And I need to read this book ASAP, and I should be doing that in July. I've then got Chain of Gold, Chain of Iron, and Chain of Thorns. So this is the Last Hour series by her, and I think that's what it's called. And I'm so excited to own all of these because it means that I can just binge read this trilogy, which is why I waited for all three of these books to be out before picking them up. Then I've got Ghost of the Shadowhunter Market by Cassandra Clare, Sarah Rees Brennan, Maureen Johnson, Kelly Link, and Robin Wasserman. Probably butchered his last name. I've also got The Lost Book of the White by Cassandra Clare and Wesley Chu. Moving away from Cassandra Clare books, I finally got it. I literally struggled saying Cassandra Clare for so long, and I don't know why. But I've got Cold the Night, Fast the Wolf by Megan Long. Know nothing about this book, but I think it's a sci-fi. Maybe, could be completely off. The Drowned Woods by Emily Lloyd-Jones. Silver in the Bone by Alexandra Bracken. I'm really intimidated by this book because I've loved some books by this author and I've disliked a lot. And I've hated other books by her, so she's a very polarizing author for me, so I'm not sure I'm going to love this book, which is super disappointing, but I'm trying not to go into this book with negative expectations. Wings Once Cursed and Bound by Piper J. Drake. Seven Faceless Saints by M.K. Love. It's so small. Loathe to Love You by Ali Hazelwood. These Bitter Blooms by Emma Hamm. Queen Among the Dead by Leslie Livingston. Hunt the Stars by Jessie Mihalik. Don't know how you say the last name. Which I feel like I'm going to say quite a lot in this video because author the last name sometimes I find so difficult to pronounce, and because there's so many books on this list, I'm not going to search them up. In the Lives of Puppet by TJ Klune. This Cursed Light by Emily Feedy. This is a novel I'm so desperate to read because I love the first book so much. I gave the first one 5 stars, one of my favourite books of all time. So I really need to read this book so badly, but I'm so scared of it because I don't want to hate this book, especially after how much I loved the first one. Heart of the Sun Warrior by Sue Lynn Tan. And I'm so scared to pick this book up because I did enjoy the first book, but I'm a bit scared to go into this book because I don't think I'm going to love it because I've spoiled myself with the ending a tiny bit, and I'm not really sure I'm going to be a fan of the ending, which has made me not want to pick this book up much, but I would still like to wrap up this duology. Painted Devils by Margaret Owen. I loved this book so much. well, not this book in particular. I loved the first book so much. I rated it at 5 out of 5 stars. It completely blew me away because I just didn't expect to love the story as much as I did. But I cannot wait to pick this book up because I cannot wait to see where the character storylines go throughout this novel. So the next 2 books are a set of a duology, and that is These Hollow Vows and These Twisted Bonds by Lexi Ryan. I think these are just like fae romances, which should be a good time. She Who Became the Sun and He Who Drowned the World by Shelley Parker Chan. These are some of the most beautiful books I own. Like, look at these stenciled edges. Stunning. Empire of the Damned by Jay Kristoff, which I cannot wait to finish because I love the first book so much and I'm excited to see what happens next. I've next got a bind up of books, and that is Cupidity by Raven Kennedy, and this is the Omnibus collection. I just realized I've got more books by her, and I'm currently up to here, chapter 11. So I'm 302 pages in. I've completed novel 1 and I'm partway through book 2. Iron Widow by Ziran J. Zhao. The Nature of Witches by, I don't know who the author is because it's not on here. By Rachel Griffin. Sorry, I had to look at the book properly. And I was going to unhaul it, but this cover was just too stunning for me to get rid of it. Like, I know I needed to give it a chance because if I loved this book and I had have got rid of this edition, I would have been so heartbroken and it would have been so sad. So that's why I decided to keep this book. The Witch and the Vampire by Francesca Floral. Gilded by Marissa Meyer, which is a book I'm desperate to read because I have loved The Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer. But I'm also quite scared to pick this book up because I didn't enjoy the Renegades trilogy. But I'm thinking because this is more of a fantasy novel and it's a retelling of, what's the myth? What's the myth where they spin gold? I don't know what this is a retelling of. Oh well, don't have time to contemplate that. I need to move on. The Ex-Hex by Erin Sterling, which is like cute, witchy romance, which is going to be perfect. Year of the Reaper by Micaiah Lucer. I've now found the other Rachel Griffin book, and that is Wild is the Witch, which I am obsessed with these clear dust jackets because they're just so stunning. But the only problem is with these is they get scratched. I've got River of the Shadows by Corinna Halley. The Dark King. Oh, this book's ruined. Oh, I thought I had bent the cover, but it just turns out it's the signature. That literally gave me a heart attack. Oh, I just realized I've got an overlay as well. Sorry. Oh, stunning. And I'm desperate to pick this book up because I think this is just a dark elf romance, which is going to be such a fun time and such a quick read. Oh, I've got another book by Corinna Halley, and that is Blood Orange, which I think for some reason is a vampire romance. And I also think this might be a second book in a series, but I don't know. I'd need to definitely Google it. And because I film on my phone, I can't be bothered to do that. A Broken Blade by Marissa Blair. What Lies Beneath the Veil. This is a book I will definitely be unhauling as soon as I've read it, but I definitely want to give it a shot so I can read this novel to see if I want to continue on with the series and buy the paperbacks. Vespertine by Margaret Rogerson, which is so exciting because I've loved 2 of her other books and I need to read this so then I can be up to date with this author's works. I think there's only 3 books that she's released. She might have released more, but I'm not certain. You know what? We might go to this side. Oh, my nose. Don't fall, don't fall, don't fall. Don't fall. Oh, have I got it? I've got them. Okay, let's start once I do that. Some Desperate Glory by Emily Tesh. The Red Scholar's Wake by Elite D. Boddard. Forged by Blood by, I'm not going to say that author's name. I don't want to pronounce it terribly. But is that possible to read? Who knows? Hopefully it was legible. The Hurricane Wars by Thea Gunzon. I'm obsessed with these spread edges. They always make me want to pick up this novel. City of Nightmares by Rebecca Schaffer. I'm actually so disappointed I didn't get the sequel from Fairy Loot, that edition. But I hadn't read this book, and if you had seen my update of Project TBR Zero, I'm trying not to buy sequels to books I've never read before. So I didn't end up picking up that sequel, which makes me so disappointed. But there's a chance that I'll dislike it, and then it won't be sad that I don't own the sequel in this special edition. Or it might not be that good of a read, and it might just be like an average read where I still want to read the series and continue on, but I don't necessarily need to spend the money on the special edition version of it. But then I could love it and really want the special edition, which would be heartbreaking. In the Ravenous Deep by A.M. Strickland. I didn't even have to look at the author name this time, which is so impressive. This is the first special edition I think I ever got. And the fact that it's still on my TBR is actually disgusting. Like, I should have read it by now. Cruel Illusions by Margaret Fuston. And I'm not really a fan of these straight edges. Oh, my favourite. I've got The Scarlet Alchemist by Kylie Lee Baker. I need to read this book. I just think it's going to be such a good read. It's an Asian-inspired fantasy, and every time I read the synopsis, which I forget and have forgotten, but every time I read it, it sounds absolutely and utterly incredible. Swordcatcher by Cassandra Clare, which, look at these sprayed edges. But I'm not really a fan of this edition, if I'm honest. I much prefer the paperback version or the Illumicrate edition. Like, I should have bought the Illumicrate edition, but then it would have been like $200 for these two books because I didn't know what the Fairy Loot one was going to look like. And I need to read this book before the paperback shrinks in Australia, because at the moment we've got the really floppy paperback and I really want that edition if I enjoy this book. But I need to read my edition first before I buy the paperback, because I don't necessarily need two copies. But it could help me decide whether or not I want to buy these editions or if I just want to buy the paperbacks. Together We Burn by Isabel Ibnai. Next, I've got two books in a series, and that is The Unbroken by C.L. Clarke and then The Faithless. So this is a series I'm so excited about. Similar to In the Ravenous Deep, this is one of my first special editions I've ever owned. So I definitely need to read this book ASAP because it is disgusting that it is still on my TBR. And I had bought the sequel before I made the deal to myself that I wouldn't buy a special edition unless I've read the first book. So that's why I've got the two special editions of this book. Next is a really hype series, and that is Fourth Wing. And then Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros. This is the Fairy Loot edition. So I definitely need to pick these books ASAP, especially with how much they were beloved last year. And is still such a popular series. And I just need to find out what all the hype is about. But that also kind of makes me scared to pick these books up because I'm afraid I'm not going to love them as much as everyone else has. Because when it's got this amount of hype, it's like, can they really be as good as everyone makes them out to be? So before I read these books, I would really like to distance myself from the hype to actually figure out what I feel about this book and try not to go into it with such high expectations. A Soul of Ash and Blood by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is the fifth book in the From Blood and Ash series, which I need to read so badly, but especially because I want to read the companion series as well, meaning the next novel in the companion series, because I'm reading her books in publication order, so I need to read this book up before I can pick up the third book in the Flesh and Fire series. So I've got another series that I want to talk about, and this is a completed series, and that is the Broken Bonds series by J. Bree, and I'll hold them up so we can go through them in order. So I've got Broken Bonds, Savage Bonds, Blood Bonds, Forced Bonds, Tragic Bonds, Unbroken Bonds. I've also got another series that I want to go through, and that is the Crave series by Tracy Wolff. So these books are Crave, Crush, Covet, and Court. I'm still waiting on my editions of the 5th and the 6th book because I think there's 6 books. But I think the Bookish Box said they're going to ship later on in the year. So I could end up with them on my physical TBR later. So next series I've got is the Fortuna Sworn series. Oh, there we go. And these are Fortuna Swan, Restless Slumber, I think. Oh, it literally tells me here. Oh! Deadly Dreams. The foiling is actually rubbing off. Oh, that's disappointing. Beautiful Nightmares, and these are all by KJ Sutton. I'm a bit hesitant to pick these books up because I think there's a love triangle in it, and I'm not really a fan of a love triangle. So I'm just hoping that when I read them, I enjoy them and the love triangle's not that annoying. Then I think this is the final series I'll be talking about from the bookish box, and that is the Guild series by Raven Kennedy. So we've got Guild, Glint, Gleam, and then Glow. I honestly think these books are some of the most stunning editions I own. Like, I'm obsessed with these covers, and like the stenciled edges are so beautiful. The next book is one that I'm really anticipating reading because it's been a book on my radar for a long time, and that is A Taste of Golden Iron. Like, I have been anticipating this book for so long, and I feel like I'm absolutely going to adore it when I pick it up. The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarafi by Shannon Chakraborty. I'm super excited for this book because I've loved a previous work by this author before. Spice Roads by Maya Ibrahim. The Forest Grimm by Catherine Purdy. The Ones We Burn by Rebecca Mix. The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea by Axio. This is a book I really think I'm going to love because it's a Korean-inspired fantasy, which I don't think I've read many of before. Song of Silver Flame Like Night by Amelia Wenzhou. Next to wrap up a series, I've got The Atlas Paradox and The Atlas Complex by Olivia Blake, which are just dark academia novels. Foxglove King by Hannah Witten. Day of Fallen Night by Samantha Shannon. And this is a chunky book. It is. Let's have a look. Over 800 pages. And next I've got a romance series, and that is The Fine Print, Terms and Condition, and The Final Offer. Sorry if they're the wrong order for you guys, but they're the right order for me. And this is just about billionaires, I think. And the next books are a romance series continuation, and that is Saving Six, Redeeming Six, and Taming Seven, all by Chloe Walsh. And this is books 3, 4, and 5 of the Boys of Tommen series. And another romance series that I have in its entirety is Things We Never Got Over, Things We Hide from the Light, and Things We Left Behind. And these are all by Lucy Score, and these are the Knockamount series. I think that's how you say it. Let's just keep going with some romance books. I've got The Hating Game by Sally Fawn, and then also Angelica Frankenstein Makes Her Match. Grace and Precious Things by Rebecca Yarros. Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. I love how I've kind of stopped talking about these books just because there's so many, and I feel like I'm making no progress because I've now been here for 42 minutes, which is so long. I've also got To Love Jason by Ella Mace, which is a book I bought while I was in Thailand. Done and Dusted by Lila Sage, which is a cowboy romance, I think. Business or Pleasure by Rachel Solomon. I'm either going to love this book or I'm going to hate this book because I've really enjoyed one of her novels before, but then also really disliked one of her previous works. So I don't know where this book's going to fall on the spectrum of whether or not I like it or not. Now I've got a dark romance of Haunting Adeline by H.G. Carlton. Chosen Ones by Veronica Roth. Ship of Smoke and Steel by Janglo Wexler. Cool Down the Hawk by Maggie Stiefvater, which is a book I need to read because it's been on my TBR for the longest time. Dark Shores by Danielle L. Jensen, which I should really enjoy because I've enjoyed lots of her other work, so I'm hoping that this series is fantastic as well. Next is an intimidating fantasy series, and that is The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. So I've got part 1, part 2, then I've got Words of Radiance part 1. Let me hold them like this. Part 1, part 2, and then Oathbringer part 1 and part 2. I don't actually know what order it's in, but it is where it is. Oh, part 1 and then part 2. Yeah, cool. So that's my next series. Also by Brandon Sanderson, I've got Skyward and Starsight. These books I'll be unhauling, so if I enjoy them, I can buy the smaller paperbacks. because even though these are super floppy, I haven't read these books quick enough to own the rest of the series in floppy paperbacks, and I don't want editions that don't match. And then if I buy the smaller editions, they will match with my rest of the Brandon Sanderson books I own. So now I've got a fantasy duology, and that is All the Stars and Teeth and All the Titans and Fates by Adeline Grace. Another duology I own is We Hunt the Flame and We Free the Stars by Hassafazel. Gideon the Knife by Tamsin Muir. This is also another book I will be unhauling, and I'll probably end up buying the paperback if I enjoy it. Princess of Souls by Alexandra Christo, which is an author who I've read from before, and I think she wrote the To Kill a Kingdom, which I really enjoyed, so I'm hoping I love this book as well. Now it's time for another series, and this is the Tiger's Curse series. So we've got Tiger's Curse, and these are all by Colleen Huck. Tiger's Quest, Tiger's Voyage, Tiger's Destiny, and Tiger's Dream. I've got Sisters of Sword and Song by Rebecca Ross, which is a novel I'm so desperate to read because this is one of the few Rebecca Ross novels I haven't read yet. Wait, this might be the only book by her I haven't read yet. So there's this one. Angel Fall by Susan E., which is a book I've wanted to read for years, especially because this was so popular back in the day on BookTube. For the Wolf by Hannah Whiston. A Cat Cafe by Cody Gray. Flower Heart by Catherine Bakewell. Kiss of Deception by Mary E. Pearson, which is a book I need to read so badly because I've wanted to read this novel now for probably like 10 years. Or maybe shorter. Whenever it was popular on BookTube, that's how long I've wanted to read it for. So I'm really excited for it. And this is one of the most floppiest books I own. Like, that's not even going to damage the spine. That's how floppy it is. So next, I've got two books in a series, and that is Broken Vow and Savage Love. I think this book comes before this one, and this might be the finale. But I don't have Bloody Heart. I think that's what it's called, but I could be wrong. Not really certain yet. And I didn't get the indie published version of it, so I need to buy the traditionally published version eventually. The Final Strife by Sarah L. Arafi. I've got Broderick, and also The Bastard Betrayal by Katie Roberts. Wretched by Emily McIntyre. I can't read this book until I have read the second book, which I don't currently own. Song of the Forever Rains by L.J. Mello. Across the Universe by Beth Revis, which, similar to Kiss of Deception, I've owned for the longest time, and I cannot wait to read it. The Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne, which is hopefully a book I'll be reading in August, because I know the third book's coming out in October. So then that way I can read one book a month and binge this series, well, trilogy. The Grace of Kings by Ken Liu. The Unspoken Name by A.K. Larkwood. Sword of Kaigan by M.L. Wang, which is the special edition version of it. And this is a chunky boy. Well, not really. It's just so heavy, this edition is. So we've got Babel by R.F. Kuang, which is a book I'm not really anticipating reading, but I need to give it a shot just in case I love it, because I know so many people do. So I've got more books by Brandon Sanderson, and these are the special editions of his Year of Sanderson books, which I'll go through in a minute. So we've got Tress of the Emerald Sea, The Frugal Wizard's Guide to Medieval England, Yumi the Painter. Oh, these are so heavy. Oh, they can sit here. And then The Sunlit Man, which kind of bothers me how this is the only one with sprayed edges and the rest don't have it, as you can see. But, like, it is what it is. Oh, so heavy. So heavy. So now I've got more books to wrap up as trilogy, and that is Defend the Dawn and Destroy the Day by Bridget Kemmerer, which I'm so excited to read because I loved the first book so much. So I cannot wait to see how this series wraps up. A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. Storm of Fury by Jennifer L. Armentrout. The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. Of Fire and Stars by Audrey Coulthurst. Havenfall by Sarah Holland. My Favorite Half Night Stand by Christina Lauren. Next is a very popular fantasy romance series, and that is House of Earth and Blood, House of Sky and Breath, which is the Fairy Loot editions, and then I have House of Shadow and Flame, which I need to read so I can start and wrap up the Crescent City series. even though I'm a bit hesitant because I've heard that the books get worse and worse as you continue on with the trilogy. Summer Siege by Lix Robinson, which I'm so excited to read because I have loved all of the other books in this series so far. Six Scorched Roses by Carissa Broadbent, which is a novella in the Serpent and the Wings of Night series. Instant Karma by Marissa Meyer, which I don't really want to pick this book up because I think it's a YA contemporary romance, which I've kind of fallen out of love with at the moment. So maybe I will love it, who knows. A Fate in Blood by Danielle L. Jensen. A Crane Among the Wolves by June Her. Okay, next I've got another series. I'm not going to hold these up all together because it's just too much, but I'm going to go through them one by one. And these are all by Robin Hobb. So I've got City of Dragons, Dragon Keeper, Dragon Haven, Blood of Dragons, and this is the Rainwild Chronicles. Then to wrap up the Fitz and the Fool trilogy, I've got Fool's Assassin, Fool's Quest, and Assassin's Fate. Sorry if I've been sideways throughout this video. I'm struggling at the moment with all the books that have surrounded me. And it's my own fault, like no one else's. So next, I've got The Lies of Locke Lamora by Scott Lynch, Legacy of Ash by Matthew Ward, Leviathan Wakes by James S.A. Corey, Because of Miss Bridgerton by Julia Quinn. I'm going to move this book. And I've got another start of a series, and that is The Grand Master of Demonic Cultivation, and then also the second volume of this. And this is by Mo Zhang Tong Zhu. Said that so wrong, not even funny how badly I said that name. Future. And I don't know, it says Faddist is the author. Oh, no. I've been here now over an hour. Next, I've got another series, and this is majority of it. I just need volume 8, but this is Heaven's Official Blessing volume 3 it's by the same author as Grand Master of Demonic Cultivation. I've got volume 4, volume 5, volume 6, and then finally I've got volume 7. So I just need to buy volume 8 for my collection, and then I can read them all and finish it. Angel Next Door Spoils Me Rotten volume 2 and Angel Next Door Spoils Me Rotten volume 3. Next, I've got another manga series which I'm really excited to read and finish, and that is Hell's Paradise. Took me a while to think of the name. So I've got, these are all out of order when I just showed them to you. So I've got volume 2. Where's 3? Is that 3? 3, 4. That's 13. That's not 5. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then 13. So I just need to buy volume 11 and 12, and then I should have the whole series. And the author is Yuji Kaku. Nine Frame by Jen Williams. Traitor's Blade by Sebastian D. Castell. Boneshard Daughter by Andrea Stewart. Disillusion by C.J. Sanson. The Rune of Kings by Jen Lyons. Painted Man by Peter V. Brett. A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkins, which I'm so excited to read because I feel like this is just going to be such a fast-paced novel and I cannot wait. Then the final series I've got to talk about is Half a King by Joe Abercrombie. I don't know what this series is called and I can't be bothered to figure out. So we've got Half a King, which is book 1. Then book 2 is Half the World, and book 3 is Half a War. So I'm now down to the final book, which is so exciting because I've been here for over an hour and I'm just surrounded by books, which is never a bad thing, but today it's a bad thing, like it's a joke. So the final book is Daughter of the Forest by Juliet Marilla, and she is one of my favourite authors of all time. She's written one of my favourite series, which was the Black Fawn and Grimm series. I loved. Wait, is that what it's called? I don't have my glasses on, so I can't see, but it's over there. So yeah, this is the final book. So this video has taken way too long. I've been here for over an hour, and if you've managed to make it to the end, honestly, I'm so shocked. And just leave me an emoji down below. It can be a little smiley face, just so I know you're here if you want to. If you don't, that's fine. So yeah, now I'll see you next time. Bye.